would you say today it would be good as a people who are either of faith or not of faith to do certain things on the astrological, formation?
The answer is no. Don't even think about it.
So it's only a good thing for those in the Bible to act on the astrology.
Wasn't either. Look, do you know what happened to the Israelites who dabbled in those things, astrology?
What's that?
God removed them from Israel, exiled them as punishment. They followed Astaroth and all these funny other gods. And then after they repented, God brought them home again. So if we Gentiles do the same thing, God will punish us. After all, he punished his own people for doing that. We'll do it too.
Is there basically, say, how can I explain? Who are the Canaanites?
The Canaanites are a people. They are not Semitic. They are not Indo-European or from... The Canaanites are from Ham.
What's your standpoint?
They're from Ham. They're Hamitic, like you, like me.
That's what I wanted to hear.
But they were not black. It does not mean they were black people.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, be careful. Hamites are not just black people. Chinese are Hamites. Native Americans are Hamites. Zulus are Hamites. Yes. Okay. So the Hamites have traveled all over the world faster than the other two brothers.
Now, obviously, I'm more into the biology, but at the same time, I like to look at other stuff. But from biology standpoint, from looking at people's biology and the strongness of their genes and their features and whatnot. For myself, I pinpointed the South Sudanese tribes as being the most purest and oldest of bloodlines on earth from my biological standpoint. Would you say that is in coordinates or in symbiosis with the Bible? Not to say I'm wrong or right, I'm just wondering, it's just from my genetic understanding and looking at people from an anthropology standpoint and the genetic dominance, as in, like, if a Sudanese tribe was to mate with, say, a West African or a white person or a Chinese person or a native Indian person, if that Pacific South Sudanese tribe person, they dominate. Their genes completely dominate whoever they go with. They dominate.
What? So when you have a genetic code.
So even with us, they would dominate our genes completely. Even other black people's genes, their genes dominate the most.
Well,
so I'm just saying, does that coexist with your thing?
Well, you have to look at study of genetics, obviously.
Yeah.
Why are we different in color?
It's because of basically mutations and downgrading.
Or it's not mutation, it's the count of melanin in our bodies. Melanin is what makes us look different, because either our skin absorbs more of it or less of it, and that's why our skin either becomes darker or lighter. But the melanin is the same for everybody. Okay, it's only the amount of it.
No, but it's a mutation, because you have to understand.
Mutations are always bad.
Let me explain something to you. Yeah, this is a lie. I must take away. Hold on, sir. Before you interrupt, sir.
I always interrupt.
Yeah, hold on. What I must say is that basically the non-melanated pigment has been produced before anyone went into Europe or cold places. As in, you have tribes in Horn of Africa produce people of albinism. You have people in West Africa causing. So this whole thing of cold climates and snow produces white skin or white people is a lie. There's these people. So it's a mutation. I just want to say
mutations are always bad. Okay, that's the definition of a mutation.
It's just straight up mutation.
Yeah, mutations always bring that organism downhill fast.
Yeah, but what I'd like to say is, what do you think of the whole linking South Sudanese tribes to the most characters in the Bible? Does that make any sense?
Well, if people live in a segregated area, cut off from interface with other nations, then the gene pool becomes very limited. Let's say you start at 1,000 people, so they intermarry within the 1,000. and they don't have any connection with anybody outside the 1,000 group. So that means a generation or two later, where are you going to get the children coming from? From that exact same community, right? So that means the gene pool, the strength of it is actually getting diluted over time.
Right.
And that's the second law of thermodynamics, which states that you start from a higher level, then you go decreasing it down as time takes over.
But would you
so
say,
eventually that group would have abnormalities creeping up, because those abnormalities then become the dominant gene factors. Yeah, like inbreeding.
But what's strange though is that they may inbreed, but they don't show that abnormality. The South Sudanese tribes, the strange about the South Sudanese tribes is that, how can I explain? They tend to breed within, but let's just say, if Caucasian or Middle Easterns inbreed a lot, or Pakistanis inbreed a lot, you will hear of a lot of genetic mutations happening because there's not enough variations in their blood. But then what's strange is that when the South Sudanese tribes do inbreeding, as in they stay close, they don't show up any of these malfunctions. So what's that?
I would have to look into that more deeply.
Yeah, no, 100. It's just,
I don't know.
What I'd like to say is this: where if the Bible's actually true, and obviously I'm more of a biologist, but what I say, if any of these books are true, and we look at it from a biologist standpoint, and we're looking at who's got the oldest genes on Earth and the oldest gene pool, it's pointing at the main players in the book would more likely look like the people from South Sudan today.
Not necessarily.
I cannot
because,
see.
Hang on, where does it?
I just can't
right,
see.
today's 2022. Where do all these people in the year 2022 actually originate, going back to the first family lines, apart from Adam and Eve?
For me personally, it's more than likely.
No, I mean anthropologically, not personally. Everybody, right.
Yeah.
Do they trace their lineage to Noah and then to Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, how many children Noah have?
Wasn't it 20 or 30?
No,
It was
3.
Crazy.
He had 3 sons. And those 3 sons and 3 wives.
Right.
Those 6 are our fathers and mothers for everybody today, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
That's why some of us have a more genetic makeup, which is Indo-European, right? Like white people, for example. Some people are more Semitic, like Jews and certain Arabs and Babylonians.
Yes.
And the rest of humanity are actually Hamitic, like me, Chinese, Japanese, Inuits, Eskimos, as some people call them, etc. So we can trace our gene pool back to either those 3 family lines.
No,
And then to know.
I get that.
That's
because,
it.
Because
so those are the oldest.
I get that.
So but in between Noah and us, there's been a great deal of variety as well. People have intermarried, they've traveled. When you travel, what do you happen if you're single? You normally marry the girl locally.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just white people going to black people's countries. It happens in the reverse fashion as well. Right. So that's normal. That's why you can find black Russians still living today in the Caucasus Mountains. They've been living there for centuries. Right. You can also find in South America West African peoples that look exactly like those South American people even today. And people say, huh? What's going on? Says, well, this is Africa and that's South America, right? If you can build a boat, can't you cross over the shortest distance from West Africa to South America, live there?
Ocean currents, it's
no
quite
problem.
simple. It's simple. It's actually
it's simple, isn't it?
It's simple.
And remember, ancient peoples were very clever as well. They could build suspension bridges, like the Aztecs. They could build pyramids, like those in Africa, right?
They can even break down chemical compounds to isolate something.
There you
they
go.
can take out something from the ground.
Right.
They can isolate an element and remove it from another element.
In East Africa, the Haya people, Haya, were having smelting of iron earlier than the Industrial Revolution in Britain. So, all over the world, people are amazed, astronomers and astro people thinking, how did they do this? Well, so what's your problem? People can do it. Doesn't matter where they are, right? Their knowledge, which they got from their ancestors, going all the way back before Noah, you find the first man who was a smelter, Cain, and this one who did this and that. So that knowledge was passed on. It's simple as that. But today, people only zero in one subgroup.
True, yeah, that's what a lot of people. Yeah,
well, that's
like to
wrong
stick to their own,
because
yeah.
Jesus came and smashed that idea, that mentality, and Jesus deliberately set up his church in Israel based on his death and resurrection. So in the next 2 weeks, those focuses the Passover, which is Jesus. He dies at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? His body's taken down, he's buried. Roman soldiers guard the place of his burial because they don't want anybody coming out from the dead.
One thing,
the gods are there, but notice what happens. Where's the dead body of Jesus?
But do you know the thing is though? Basically, the Germanic, known as today, or white modern European. No, I get that. But I was just I was adding to your point.
Dead body?
I don't know, but I was going to add to your point of basically we're saying that today the modern European or the Germanic, they've actually come from Horn of Africa bloodlines and Dravidian bloodlines, because when you look at the actual albino version of the people from certain tribes in the Horn of Africa and you look at the albino version of Dravidians, there's basically no difference between an actual white European and the albino Dravidian, as in when you look at the bone structure, the hair structure, the eye color. So it's a case of where, how can I explain? It's a case of where many people are all one. They're all one, and I think the theory of how, say, people were white when they arrived in Europe is the greatest lie, and they got white due to you can't lose pigment due to actual less light, but it wouldn't be that quick, if that makes any sense. And if you look here, this is an Ethiopian of 2 black parents. This lady has 2 black parents. Yeah, she could, and let's talk about, when you look at the features, her name is Meron Benti. You can look at her, she's actually a very good academic. Meron Benti, and she has 2 black parents, but then she's not, with a West African albino, you can still tell it's Negroid feature. But now look at this person here. You think that she's a European. You think even she could walk into a KKK meeting or Nazi meeting, they would not know she has 2 black parents darker than me and him. She could be more dark. Yeah. She could be seen as the talisman lady or the talisman of beautiful white features, but she has 2 black parents. So it's a case of where the actual pneumotype of the Europeans here have not been created by snow and ice and lack of sun. It's already been created. So the European was the features were already created.
I know there've been white family, black mother, white mother,
the features,
and they've had a perfectly white child. And people say, where did this child come
you
from?
two gentlemen.
We know all about
great grandfather. One of them was a white man, and the other one was a black man. That's where the gene came back again. End of story.
Indians were converted.
It's not that they were sexually committing adultery.
A National Front meeting, a Nazi meeting, you would not be able to tell.
We don't know. Nobody does.
It is what it is.
You don't want to stir people up too.
You see, all these issues about ethnicity,
I just explained that
whatever, the colors of people, they can only be understood from a biblical point of view. Isn't it good that the Bible does not tell us the color of Jesus? It's not white, it's not black, it's not brown, nothing. The Bible simply says, Son of God. And that's it. So that no one can say, my culture is identified what Jesus looks like. That is stupidity. Jesus came to break down all these artificial barriers. And before we go into a little bit of a tangent there, the issue is, did he come back from the dead or not? The answer is yes. There's plenty of evidence from circular writers. For example, Pliny the Younger. These are 3 books that I brought along. One is Greek, one is Roman, and one is Jewish. And they all agree Jesus died, but they cannot explain the resurrection away. Isn't that curious? They all agree Jesus died. And even this poster here, were the soldiers sleeping when Jesus came back from the dead? That means the soldiers should have been executed for dereliction of duty. Did Pontius Pilate kill the soldiers? We have no record he did.
Maybe somebody stronger than you. So you
Aha!
turned up.
So an angel came down, and look, that's the size of the boulder.
Maybe somebody killed him.
Imagine a rock that size. And the angel takes the rock away from the tomb, and then guess what? He dumps it on top of the hill, and then he sits down on it. Sitting on the job, hallelujah. But it's what he's saying, look, I just did it, go look inside, okay? The body's not there. So where's the dead body of Jesus? Jesus is alive. Where's Buddha? Where's Confucius? Where's Karl Marx? They're all dead.
Confusion.
Confusion.
That's what it is, not confusion.
Oh, absolutely. And isn't it exciting to know that Jesus is the only one who came back from the dead? So Passover, the next 2 weeks, Jesus is resurrected from the dead. But why are Muslims celebrating Ramadan when it's a fake?
You have to understand the Horn of Africa.
How can you go and have breakfast at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you say you're fasting the rest of the day, and then 5 o'clock in the evening you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken? Hey guys, I'm hungry. That's not fasting. That's a joke. You know, Lent is not biblical, as I said at the beginning, right? So Christians don't have to fast. If they want to, it's up to them. But don't call it Lent. That's a pagan word. Jesus fasted 40 days, 40 nights. Muhammad never fasted 30 days, 30 nights. Or 40 days, 40 nights. He can't do it.
Had no reason to.
No reason either. So why would Muslims pretend to the world we are fasting? I was reading the internet yesterday about Morocco and Saudi Arabia figures about food. They were admitting on their websites, official government ones, that why is it that in Saudi Arabia and Morocco and Egypt, food consumption goes up in Ramadan and not down? Why are we eating too much? They said. And guess what? The Muslims have also got 25 recipes for Ramadan. Shouldn't that be 0 recipes for Ramadan? After all, if you're going to do a fast for 30 days, okay, have a drink of water. But no food, please. We're kosher here, you know.
Can't do it.
Jesus did the proper fasting, okay? So I close and I say, Jesus came back from the dead. And we are very blessed by the Lord doing that on our behalf. He's the first fruits of the resurrection.
There's a common question.
God bless you.
There's a common question that speakers for.
Yeah.
How can that which is immortal
Die.
They're always asking this.
Yeah,